Okay, for people joining this live stream, we are talking about some features for version 12.2 of Wolfram language, which is coming soon. And these are features about geography and dates. And I was trying to run a prototype build here, which is obstinately refusing to run. So you've sent me examples. So I mean, that's kind of pathetic, but let me just kill off that prototype build so it doesn't open something. Okay. By the way, we have a lot of background noise. I don't know whether this is just wind noise type. Okay. So what should we look at first here? Are we going to look at vector geographics first?
Yeah, I think so.
It's magnificent.
Those sections down there under Geo in the design notebooks list sort of the various sub-problems like labels, tiles, and styles.
Okay, so do we have somebody from design here?
No, I don't think so.
Can we get somebody from design? Who worked on those, on the styles?
Tim.
Okay, is Tim here?
No, but we can probably get him.
Okay, because I'd like to see those different styles.
I don't think we are final. This came in kind of late.
There is, yeah. Here you see the various styles.
Yeah, but randomly. I mean, oh, I see here.
There are 8 in total.
Have we shown these to graphic design as well?
No, only Tim has worked on this.
Okay, so we need to get them to look at them. I mean, they look nice, but...
Is someone calling Tim or?
I just sent him a message on Rocket Chat. If he doesn't respond there, then I'll give him a call in a minute.
I didn't organize this particularly as a sort of a style review meeting, in which case we would have prepared a little bit different documentation. So you can.
Oh, Ben is here. Ben should be dealing with this.
Tim's on his way.
Is Ben here?
I'm here.
Okay, good. Okay. So this is our vector classic. Well, these are very nice.
Yeah, they look really nice. Yeah. And now it's all vector there. It's all scalable. We have another section there in which you see the different zooms and how the detail and the content changes by zoom.
So this is all now working.
Yes, it is working.
And it's fast and all that. There's no speed problem.
Well, right now it's working with a tile server in Lima, and it's slow. But once we move the tiles to the Geo server or the CDN, then it will be a lot faster.
We should move it to the CDN, please. Is that in process?
Yep, we're in talks with Warren, etc.
Talks isn't convincing.
It's been explored. Apparently, he has been asking questions to the CDN people, and they are not very receptive. So
okay,
we are
fine.
going to be doing tests, because the main problem here is the huge amount of tiles needed. It's many millions.
Okay. All right. What is our time scale? Because that's a thing that has to be solved in the next week, right?
Well, it has to be solved for the release, for the moment of release.
I know, but I think we need to solve it quicker because I think we need to be testing it for a while.
Could be. The good news here is that everything related to styles is backlit updatable. So if we need to change something in the styles, we can do it. The styles live in the Geo server. So here you see the zooming around London, level by level.
These maps are really nice. Well, why did that jump? I just clicked it. It jumped.
not sure what you mean by jumping.
Well, it changed size.
Oh.
When I just clicked on it, it might be something to do with the different versions that you created. Okay, why is this taking so long to? This is not.
I mean, these maps are large in terms of data. They contain multiple megabytes of primitives.
And if I'm to take this, if I take this and I say image of this, okay, so now is this an image now?
Should be.
It's got the toolbar.
Oh yeah. And it's frozen pretty much.
This is also a very large notebook. It's much beyond 100 megabytes.
17 megabytes. Okay. Just for the image. Okay. All right, let's see this go in zoom levels. Those streets are a bit thick at that zoom level. How come? Doesn't look quite right.
Yes. So as I said, this is the type of thing that we can change.
Okay.
Posteriorly.
I just clicked here. Okay. And it jumped. See that? I'm going to click in the middle there. And oh, now it jumped.
Does it happen if you take the notebook magnification back down to 100? I wonder if there's like a bitmap cache sort of thing going on.
Oh, let's try a different one. It does not. It doesn't. I think these roads are too thick here.
And we have Tim now, so.
Okay. These are looking beautiful, Tim.
Okay, thanks.
But I think the roads are too thick.
Yeah. Okay, I'm making note.
Yeah, I mean, this is just like what?
Oh.
It's a bundle of yarn.
You know, it's a bundle of roads, which I don't think is reality. I think that as you go in, now I have no idea at that level whether they're to scale. Oh boy, I happened to go there and see a person I know from last year. How interesting.
So the data right now lives up to Zoom 14. And from Zoom 14, we have effectively the same data. It's just being controlled by the styles, what is shown and what not. So we can go, I think, Francisco, up to level 24 or something like that. Here we're showing 20. Yeah. So now we can go deeper than with image styles.
Okay. Well, so the only thing I have a problem with is the thickness of roads here.
Okay.
They're really beautiful, these things. Okay, external styles. What is this? Oh, I see. This is OSM styles and things like that.
Exactly. These are all the styles we have taken from somewhere else. But now we can create many styles, and that's great.
Right. Now, what about backgrounds that are gotten from like the NASA? I mean, that's going to be separate, the GeoImage stuff, right?
Right, exactly. Yes. Now, something that we need to decide how to do. Right now, we are controlling the different types of vector maps via the GeoBackground option. And you saw the convention we use. We put vector in front of the various styles, rather than having, say, GeoBackground goes to street map, and then we control the type with a GeoTheme or some some subtype of map style, perhaps.
You're quite quiet, we'll say.
What? Oh,
Yes, I lowered my volume because it's my headset that produces that noise Stephen was complaining about.
I see.
Yes, I'm discussing with sysadmin how to fix it.
okay. So the question is, I mean, geo background, I can also say, presumably, satellite there, right? For geo background.
Yes, exactly. But then all the vector maps disappear.
Obviously.
Right. So what we want to do for the next version is to have some sort of control of layers so that you can overlay these on the satellite map.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can select, I want only the streets, only the whatever.
Yes. We're not going to have some horrible problem. What's that?
Sorry, yeah, this section. So can you scale both maps and see the difference? So you see how the labels stay same size here.
What's that?
I think you just hit the thing so that it changed the image margins or something.
And of course, Control Z doesn't work.
Perhaps.
And by Control Z, you mean Command Z.
Command Z. And that bug should be reported, Ben. That was, did you see that?
Yep, I got it.
Okay. Okay, so there are the labels. Don't have a queue, please. Just say vector map scaled fonts true. Font scaling. Vector map font scaling arrow automatic, I would say, versus none.
Okay. But do you have a preference of what should be the default?
What does Tim think? Well, we could ask Jeremy. I don't know. I'm.
I would say it would be the type that stays the same size. The
Yeah.
top one. Yeah.
That's what I think too. Yeah, that's what I think. Keep it the same size for now. Okay. This stuff is really beautiful. I've said that about 5 times, but I'm just continuing to say that.
Thank you.
Great. All right, let's move on.
Right. So then the next thing we are adding these 3 new objects: Geopolygon, GeoBoundary, GeoBounds, Region Boundary. And the thing is, we have this table of all our primitives except for GeoMarker. The column on the left are the 2D primitives. The column on the right are the 1D primitives. So we wanted to have the boundaries of all of them and the objects of all of them. And also Geopolygon is a new object that is aware of topology. It uses the polygons with holes notations, as was introduced for 12, and it can specify the type of path of the edges. So things that we could not specify with polygon of geoposition before.
Okay, that's good. Hey, by the way, what on earth has happened to things like sphere position? The whole, just the trivial repackaging of the geo stuff for spheres.
Well, my worry there has been always to advance too early spherical geometry, which I think should come from the geometry team rather than the geo team. But I mean, now that Roger is here, perhaps I mean, Roger, do you have plans for spherical geometry in the future?
No, we didn't.
I don't think
But
you should. I don't think you should go there. I think what we should do is simply have, really just, sphere distance, just like we have geodistance, geosphere. I'm sorry, sphere distance, all those kinds of things, or spherical distance, or spherical polygon, those kinds of things. I think that we get 95% of the benefit by just taking what is essentially unitless datums, from the geo stuff. And yes, there is even more that can be done when you start doing. I mean, doesn't a lot of the region geometry stuff work in the geo case, Roger?
yes, but it works in two ways. Either you use the full 3D embedding, or you use the projection, the 2D projection.
Yep.
Okay. And it's very clear sort of which one you're using, depending on how coordinates are given and so on. How the data.
Well, that has to be looked at, but I just think we should get a basic sphere distance, sphere polygon, et cetera, and rendering of that. Which again, I just think we can just, it's just like geo, except without units. And with radians instead of degrees as the default measurements and so on.
Right.
So I think we should talk about it. It depends on how well you want it to actually work. If it's just graphics, that's one thing. If it's also compute, that's a different thing.
Well, I mean, look, things like areas and so on, we should get that to work. But I just don't think we need, I mean, I think we should see what we can get by just taking the geo functionality and putting it in the case and conveniently packaging it for spheres. And then see what we can't get. And maybe there will be some things we can't get, but let's cross that bridge when we know what they are.
What are applications of that? Why do you want it?
Every so often I need it. Every so often I'll have some reason why I'm doing spherical geometry. Spherical, where it isn't geo, it's just spherical. A good example is projections. Okay, I've got a function on a sphere, really a function, right? I've got, and I want to draw it in, I want to visualize it, but I want to do it with a map projection. Obviously, I can do it by pretending it's a geo thing, but it's kind of weird. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's nothing. That's why I think that's why I'm confident that it will work, because I have done these things with our geo functionality. It's just kind of crazy because I'm dealing with things with units in the geo system, et cetera, and pretend and multiplying my function by the radius of the Earth and things like this, which is just unnecessary.
Right.
Another place in which we will be using purely spherical geometry will be Astro, because there are no ellipsoids.
Right.
But the plan is to use degrees as well.
Yeah, I think for Astro we should use degrees. For spheres we should use radians. I mean, if you just look around, I don't know, like I was doing. I mean, eventually we want things like hyperbolic geometry as well. But for now, spherical geometry is a really good start. Okay. Now, what's all this stuff? So Geopolygon, should I look at the reference page for Geopolygon?
Yes.
So San Marino works. Does Antarctica work?
Yes.
Right. So here we will, for example, a problem we had before was this confusion of one side of the world or the other one. And now we will be able to specify an interior point or an exterior point, and that will be resolved.
Okay. In Cartesian space, Stephen, one region is bounded, the other one is unbounded. So it's clear.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, both are bounded.
But by the way, I'm sorry to make this point, but we've obviously got to go through and regenerate all the geographics examples in the documentation for the new styles. Right.
Sorry, I didn't understand. The new what?
The new styles for geographics that don't look the same, right?
Well, yes, this is something we didn't discuss before. We were planning to have the new styles not as default, but something that the users have to opt in by specifying the background they have to use.
I don't think I think we should have it by default.
Yes. I have the impression we haven't tested it well enough.
All right,
yet.
fine. So then for this version, we don't have to have it by default.
Exactly. In 13, we have it by default.
Or 12.3.
Or 12.3, yeah, right.
Okay. So Roger, your point is there's an obvious exterior if you're in an unbounded space, but there isn't if you're in a bounded space.
Right. And Jose figured out what, if you look at the table he made up there, actually look at the examples, they're good. But Jose figured out various convenient ways of doing it. Support various convenient ways of doing it.
Right. If somebody tells you the polygon, the boundary of my polygon is the equator, how do you know which side do you mean?
Yeah.
Or you're a northerner, obviously it's the northern half. I mean, what else could it be?
How would you deal with that case?
There are defaults. Yes, it will choose probably the north. It's like, yes, when you have the geodesic between 2 points in the equator, if it has to go through a pole, it will choose the north.
Do we document that anywhere?
I'm not sure. Probably we don't yet.
Okay. Interior is the smaller. What's left and right? I don't understand that.
Yes,
how can? Go ahead.
Because this is done with polygons, so the points on the boundary are sorted. They have to be traversed in a given order. So as you traverse the points of the boundary, you leave the area on one side or the other one.
Wait a minute. Is this a left-hand rule or a right-hand rule or what?
Almost. So imagine that you are traversing the points of the boundary of the US in clockwise form. Then you are leaving the interior on the right.
That is utterly confusing to me. I mean, I would prefer to say here, clockwise interior or something like that. That's what you're saying, is when the points are traversed in clockwise order.
But you still have to specify.
The points are the points. They're traversed in the order given.
Right.
Yes, I know, but I don't understand what the left and right is then. If the points
if you have a direction,
as you walk along the edge of the polygon,
yeah,
is it to the left or the right?
I see. Wait a minute, I'm very confused. I'm very bad at these geometrical visualization things. Okay, you're walking around a pond,
yes,
and the pond is always to your right. Yes, that's right. Okay, the pond is always in one direction, one side or the other.
Yes.
God, that's confusing. Okay.
I think that's why Roger wanted.
I mean, how do you describe it to people when you talk to people? You must have been using this in everyday life.
No. The pond
My house is on the right-hand side of the road when you come from the town, or my house is on the left-hand side when you come from, you must have used it a lot.
Yes, but not in the case where that's a circular area. I mean, I'm thinking about the equator. If my geopolygon is a hemisphere, I guess it still works. I guess there still is a left and a right. Okay, I believe it. Okay, what is a geographic path type? What's that for? That's for the boundary? Oh, I see.
Exactly.
Oh, this is interesting. Yeah, okay, fine. This is a good thing.
Right. And this closes the gap that now we can compute the boundary of this object, and it will give you a geopath of the same type. This is showing the different types.
Yeah, right. This is a very good idea. This is a good idea.
And this is a way of topology. So now we'll projections and things like that. We'll know what to do.
So now country borders become geopolygons. Is that correct? So if we take a country like France or something, and we say, of polygon, arguably we should have a new property named Geopolygon that gives you the Geopolygon, because I think there's too much code that will use the fact that it is a genuine polygon otherwise.
Well, this is something you were asking recently, whether we should change from field curves to other things. So the plan was to change from field curves to use directly Geopolygon with holes, with the arrows notation.
Okay, fine. But I mean, if I say something like France, and then I say polygon, what am I actually getting?
So right now will be
a projected thing.
So right now it's a polygon of your position.
Okay. And you're proposing, but so long as the geometry functions work with geopolygons, I'm a happy person.
Yes, they will. They have an interface, a common interface to the Geo framework, and that interface knows about Geopolygon. I don't know what this is.
And that's the external build that's just hanging, right?
I don't think it's the external build. No.
Oh, okay.
It's the 12.1 build.
What'd you do to your 12.1 build?
I have no idea. Okay. All right, let's go on. Geo Boundary.
Yes. So that's the function that communicates the two columns. So given to the geo region on the left, it will give you, for example, something simple we could never do. You have this polygon of France, give me the boundary of France.
What's the analog? That's region boundary is the analog otherwise, right?
Right.
Yes.
What the heck is going on here? Okay. Fine. Okay. Is there okay, geo bounds region boundary?
Yes, it's a bit of a mouthful, but that was the only case we had without a boundary object. We had things like geovisible region boundary, geohemisphere boundary. So this is a rectangle in lat long. So this is the boundary of that.
Why isn't it just a geopolygon? Oh, because that's the interior.
It could be, but I think this is more specific. And you see, I would like to have this table complete.
Yeah, okay.
Not without a hole.
Okay. Question: what is that day hemisphere and night hemisphere? Are those separate functions?
Yes, we have two for them. Yeah. With a date. So they take as argument a date, and then the boundary is the day-night terminator between them.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, so question for Geopolygon. I assume that it can have an edge form for graphics, yes?
Yes, internally it will be eventually converted into graphics. So all the things that can be done with normal polygons can be done with them.
So edge form red on a Geopolygon will just work.
Right.
Well, this is great.
Actually, will the fillings work in GeoGraphics? The new fillings?
They should. I mean, there's a neat example in hatch filling using the countries in Africa.
Okay. Oh yeah, I remember seeing that. Yeah.
So that will work even with Geopolygon.
Yes. So all these objects you see there in that table, they are all in the end converted into either point, line, or polygon.
Okay.
So they inherit everything from them.
Okay. Okay. All right. Anything more to look at here?
No, I don't think so. Roger had prepared there a specific material if you wanted to discuss how labels work or tiles or whatever. So that's a case in which you see the huge amount of data that we receive. For example, Francisco was recently checking how many times something is used for points in a map, and it turned out to be 45,000.
What do you mean?
Points of interest.
So in this kind of maps, we had like around 45,000 elements that we need to
Prune.
resolve the collisions, etc. Yes.
Okay.
in real time.
And how do you do that?
We have encoded an R3, a very fast R3 algorithm.
Okay. But how do you know what's important?
They come sorted.
Oh, they do come sorted.
Yes. So OSM already provides all the information you need to do the things. It's just that you have to write your algorithms to do them.
Although I do think that for some future version, that might be something we want to look at.
What the sorting is.
Yeah. What is important.
Yeah, I agree. Because I don't think train stations are necessarily important to people.
Right. That was something that Google focused on, whereas Apple focused on points of interest and discovery.
Yeah. Right. Can we get an inventory of what the categories on a typical street level map and then a typical, I mean, because there is commentary basically that is going on when you're deciding trains are important, you know, whatever it is. I mean, like we're not seeing the train lines, we're just seeing the trains here. Maybe we are seeing some train lines. Maybe these are mostly subway. Does Madrid have a subway? Let's ask the very basic question.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay,
and
so these are not
stations.
Mostly, right? But these are underground train, because there aren't train tracks here.
Exactly, it's all underground, even the train lines.
Right. Okay. Okay, but so yes, we absolutely should figure that out. What the categories are and then what the sorting should be.
But many of these things can also be done at the style level. So you can have different styles that focus on different elements, for example, on categories.
Well, that's fine, but let's get a list, please.
Sure,
Let's have a separate meeting where we have lists of these things and we can start to see, you know, what the consequences are. Okay, now what's this about?
Yes, so this is just a case in which we had a river, that's the Sargamon River near Champagne, and this is an example of how we select many candidate boxes to place the label, and they are sorted by opacity. So the darker ones are the best ones.
Based on where it's straightest.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is interesting. I mean, we should unpackage some of this functionality so that people can use it to label things themselves. I mean, like labeling a curve on a graph, I don't see why we shouldn't use the same technology.
Mm-hmm. Yes, actually, we are internally developing a full language to specify the rotations, the separations, multiple things.
Right, but I mean, you know, what I think we want is, you know, something like a co-labeled thing, or so I don't know, some term like that means label the thing with a, you know, a kind of a co-moving label, if you understand what I'm saying. Brett, you understand what I'm saying? You've got a curve and a plot.
Mm-hmm.
I want to label it the same way you're labeling streets, right? I've got 3 curves. I want to label them, you know, using the same avoidance algorithms and the same positioning algorithms.
Right. You want the labels along the curve.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I just want the labels. Whatever you're doing for maps to give a decent experience with labeling, do that. You see what I'm saying? So a curve gets something, a point gets something, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And same for, you know, I know you have some algorithms for feature space plot and so on that prune down the labels. I'm just saying, you know, this is a technology, and we've had for years, we've had ones for contour plots, but I really think we should have you said you're developing a language to represent this. I really think that's an important thing. Okay.
Right, and we're talking with Jose and Francisco, and you know, it's tackling the labeling from both sides.
Okay.
Yeah,
fine.
from Geo and from Viz.
Okay.
So.
Terrific. Well, lovely work. Okay, let's move on in this meeting. Okay, array classes. What's that about?
It's kind of a detail, but when you specify matrices, it can be symmetric and anti-symmetric. And to support complex matrix variables, we needed Hermitian and anti-Hermitian.
And this goes with what? With symmetric?
No, matrices. We have
I
arrays.
know that. We've
Okay.
already got Hermitian matrix Q, right?
Right.
Okay, so we've got this notion of symmetric that is a characterization of a thing, right? And you're saying Hermitian is a characterization like symmetric.
Yes.
Exactly. It falls
Fine.
in. It goes into the same framework. Now,
Fine.
something special here is that the standard case is Hermitian matrix. That's why it's separated. The second case is one of these generalizations that is natural in the language of symmetries, but I've never seen it before. I've never seen anybody using it. So
right, it's a tensor. That's because there's matrix mechanics, but not tensor mechanics in quantum mechanics.
Right. So my impression about this is that this is a generalization that makes sense at the array level, but not in the geometric level of tensors. So this is a condition that is not invariant under changes of basis, for example, things like that. So perhaps this should be documented under extensions and not as a main thing.
Oh, I don't know. Let's just entertain people by putting it in there. It's not going to hurt anything. I would, if you really want to know, why don't you send something to Xerxes and Jonathan and ask what happens in categorical quantum mechanics? I wouldn't be surprised if this concept isn't there. And the only reason to do that is just to check we didn't get the concept wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but this seems fine.
I have explicit examples of arrays that obey that condition. There.
Okay. That seems fine. Okay, should we go on?
Yep.
Okay, date select. Do we have Nick here to represent this?
Yep.
That is not a very beautiful picture yet.
Yeah, it's sort of our tentative idea of, we wanted to have a illustration that sort of showed the idea of picking out dates based on some sort of pattern or some sort of recurring sequence.
Mm-hmm. Okay, returns all dates within the date interval for which criterion of date I is true. Okay. Yeah, so what we're doing is to use the as-if association mechanism here. Is that right?
Yeah, basically. So we can, in effect, use any element that's valid in date value as to construct a Boolean expression of arbitrary complexity. So we can pick out, basic elements. The month is this value, or the day of week is this value.
Yeah, this is pretty reasonable. That's pretty reasonable. Well. But now, how is that implementationally? What does that look like? Does it construct the association and then apply this, or how does it work?
Yeah. So basically, under the hood, we have a couple of different steps to try and optimize the process, but we basically pick out whatever elements we need to generate the elements needed by the criteria. We try and do a fast pass on anything that's simple. If I say it needs to be within this year, I can drop out whatever dates don't match that pattern, and then we basically try to selectively apply and filter out, so we're only doing the necessary evaluations to pick out things that are actually true. If I only need Wednesdays, that's a relatively simple thing to pick out.
Okay. New calendars and date object.
And so the primary documentation for the new calendars is on the calendar data new page, but we've been cleaning up the way that it's referenced on some of these other pages and trying to improve the documentation a little bit too.
Okay, so whatever happened? What did we do again with the exchange data about that was a different thing, right?
Yeah, that's a different thing. So we're working with Alan on basically taking the data we've collected for alpha, making a proper exposed version of that, and then basically cleaning up the data so we can have a data packlet that says, I want Russian religious holidays, I want whatever sort of holidays are associated with this exchange, or I want a collection of exchanges that observe blah. Being able to basically leverage the implicit entity framework also, so we don't have a whole bunch of named entity classes.
Sounds good to me. Holiday calendar of a given country. What? You don't mean this? That's an error. Given the country entity of the country? No, you mean something different there. The holiday calendar is given as the. What are you talking about here?
So basically, this is the old version of calendar data did some aspect of this exchange holiday system. And so we're continuing to support that. But basically, if you said
that sentence is incomprehensible.
Right. He means
circular,
it specifies. It's specified as.
I think if you say calendar data France, I assume it gives you French holidays or something.
Yes, that's what I think happened. But I think that's
sorry, the sentence there is not clear. So yeah, it is specified as a country entity. So if you want national holidays for France, you could say holiday calendar goes to France, basically.
Right.
And then we've done a little bit of work in terms of creating some different basic classes for date calendars, like there are astronomical calendars and arithmetic calendars. And in the future, there may be regnal calendars or some other subset from there.
Those are classes, is what you're saying.
Yeah. So in principle, all calendars are astronomical to a degree, but the arithmetic ones have simplified rules and don't actually do on-the-fly calculations of moon phase, etc.
Okay, so are these going to have documentation pages? The Balinese
Pauken
calendar.
So we hadn't planned on having specific calendar type pages, but we have, because you can say calendar data of a given calendar, we can get information about it.
But by the way, what on earth is the ordering of the calendars here? From Coptic to Western Baha'i, how did they come to be in that order?
They should be. I need to resort these alphabetically within each section.
Okay.
I was copying and pasting things, so they got a little out of whack. But yeah, it should be alphabetical in each section.
Okay. This says Holocene and that says Halocene.
Oh, it should be Holocene, right?
I don't know.
Yes, it's Holocene.
Yeah, that was a typo on my part. So this tentative section.
I would really put the recently proposed arithmetic calendars at the bottom.
Okay.
They're really not winners.
They're interesting, but yeah, they're probably not frequently used.
Right. The heck is that one?
It's a perennial calendar. I don't remember offhand what the big difference between it and the world calendar, but the idea is that, January 1st of every year is always going to be a Sunday or a Monday.
Oh, I see.
Right. So every trimester has a month with 4 weeks, another with 5, another with 4, and then again and again.
Yeah, that's right.
So each trimester has the same calendar.
And why are you not going back before year minus 1,000?
So this was just sort of a table to show the change as we, the astronomical calendars account for changing.
Yeah, I
in the Earth's
understand that, but I
rotation.
mean, I think you should show. I mean, we care about. Look, recorded history goes back at least 5,000 to maybe 5,000 BC.
Okay, yeah, I can make that table a little bigger. I didn't know if this was something that was entirely relevant for the page at the top here, but I thought it was an interesting way to show the differences in
I
how
think
these
it's
time
useful.
systems.
I think it's useful to let people know that there are really weird, complicated issues like this.
Okay, excellent.
Might go to a different place in the
Yeah,
This
maybe
is
not at the
information
top.
that will be available directly through the Astro functionality in the next version.
Okay.
Which will be a more proper place to have these things.
Would it
Yeah,
make
but
sense to format that middle column in something that is not fractions of a day? Like hours, minutes, seconds, so you can.
These? No. These ones we want fractional days.
I meant your minus 1,000 too.
Yeah, I kind of like keeping it consistent with the other columns.
Oh, this
but,
is good.
yeah.
This is good. We don't want anything. This is, 0.24218. Oh yeah, that's what I remembered it as 0.24. That's for the current time.
Yeah.
Boy. In my lifetime, then it'll only be the next digit that changes. Okay. Right. Okay, let's move on. Okay, that was calendar data. Calendar convert. That was, we already know what that's going to do.
Yep, and same thing with calendar type. We have some of the additional information like the parameterized versions of calendars, and then we also link here for more data about calendars.
So what's this thing with Julian year? That's not a function, is it? Or is it? I mean, we've got Julian date, don't we, as a function already?
Yeah, we do. And so the notion is to sort of expand on these in the future of having Besselian year, Julian year. They can both be a calendar system, and they're also useful standalone functions.
Well, fractional then that means, but I mean current. We could have a thing called current year if we wanted to.
Yeah, it's basically current date of year that we.
Well, it's basically now of quotes year, isn't it?
Yep.
I don't know whether we want current year, but I mean, when we give the Julian year or the Besselian year, that'll have fractional year components, right?
But they have a very precise definition. So, for example, the definition of Julian year is that starting from the 1st of January of year 2000 at noon, you count 365.25 exactly days in every direction.
Okay.
So around year 2000 is very precise. It's more or less precise. As you get farther away, they get totally misaligned. But that's what the astronomers use. That very precise definition.
I thought it was relative to 1900. I thought the Besselian year was like 1800 or something.
No, it's the other way around. The Besselian year is around. Well, the Besselian year is you need to know the duration of every year, and you interpolate between years. But it's centered around 1950.
Really?
Yes.
But Bessel wasn't around in 1950.
But that's the convention. So when it's just a convention. It was in the same way that Julian years are centered around 2000. And then at some point, people will start using Julian years around 2050 because they will not bother to go to year 2000.
I see. Okay. And you're saying it's not based on 55 BC or something?
No.
Right. Okay. All right. Let's move on. This is looking wonderful. Okay. Dataset.
Yes. So these are just some things we are working on Dataset. And actually, right now, what Chris is working most intensely are plot themes and dataset editing. And I'm working on the type system.
What is the theme? What are the themes being called?
Well, probably Brett and team can report more on that. They have also been working on that.
I mean, the major themes follow the same.
What's the option name?
I don't know that it has a name yet. I don't know if it's going to be dataset theme or if it's going to be something else. I mean, I doubt it will be plot theme, but
Well, but it's time is of the essence. I
mean, the themes aren't a 12.2 feature.
Oh, okay. Okay. So what is the 12.2 feature? All the stuff Chris has been doing and robustness and improvement of the formatting, right?
Right, exactly. Yes, and editing might be the only thing that he has for this version. The same thing for me. I have been working on this new type system, but I would like to test it a lot more. So probably it will not be by default usable in 12.2.
Okay, but just so I understand, all the stuff to do with max items and so on, that's all 12.2, right?
Yes, that's all there. Yes, I mean,
and that's new in 12.2.
No, max items and those things were in 12.1. It's just that he has improved the robustness of all of that a lot with various
documented in 12.1.
Yes, we documented those in 12.1. So if in 12.1 dataset had, I think, 11 or 12 new options, and they were all documented.
Okay, fine.
But they work a lot better right now.
Okay, but editing is going to be a new thing.
It's not merged yet, so I don't really know, but he's working hard on that.
Okay, sounds good. All right, I think that looks like it's everything. I'm really pleased with some of these things, especially the vector maps. All right, I think we have another group of people here for a different meeting, but I think it may have some overlap. Do we have the folks here for the database submit stuff?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm going to leave this map up because I think it's so beautiful. And then let's just segue to that meeting. Anything else from Roger and Jose and so on?
No, you covered it all.
Okay. Would it be useful to be able to get out this list of labels somehow as a list?
It's all there in the map, but it's all in a format that is tailored towards graphics, not towards computation.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying each one of those has a geoposition. Being able to get the list of points out where it's literally a string and it's a type, a string, a geoposition.
So basically a map data type thing.
Yeah, I think so.
I think eventually we will be able to do that, but probably there are things we can install in the Geo server that are specifically designed for that type of query.
Right, but I mean, but what I'm saying is just what. Oh, I see that because these are pre-generated tiles right now.
Right. So these things are all given in a way that is especially good for graphics, but not for computation.
I understand, but so what I'm imagining is that one could say, give me all points of interest within this geo region and so on. So it's basically a geo within functionality. Right. It's basically geo within, but it's basically what it would be is geo within, instead of like city, it would be something like geo label or something within. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then it would just give you a bunch of strings, or just geo within name. Or geo nearest of quotes name, comma, position, comma, 300 or something. It will give you the 300 closest names to that. Anyway, okay, just something for the future.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, let's switch to the next topic. Thanks, guys.
Good
stuff.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, database submit, is that what's coming next?
Yes.
Do I need to update?
No. I'm sure you have in the last 2 days.
I certainly have, yes. All right, database submit, what is it?
It's the URL submit version of databin add.
So it's a fire and forget.
It's a fire and forget. So it's databin add, but it happens in the background, and you get a task object back instead of the databin back.
Sounds sensible to me.
Yeah,
What
it's
else
pretty
is there to
straightforward.
say?
That last note is the one catch that we might want to improve UX for at some point, but I wasn't sure. It wasn't a half-hour job. So it's very easy to hit rate limits with this because they're queuing up in the background. And when you hit the rate limits, the messages show up in the message window.
What do you
might not
mean the rate
notice.
limit? I don't understand. Why is there a rate limit for these? They just queue.
Well, it's easier to send things at a faster rate.
I understand, but why aren't they just queuing up? They don't get put in the data bin. They hit the rate limit, and so they just queue up. Maybe they queue up for 3 hours.
Well, it's just you're talking about a server side change there, right?
Yes, but I'm saying if you have a thing called databin submit, I don't think it should rate limit.
Well, then this is going to have to be after 12 too. That's a major infrastructure kind of change.
Listen to what I'm saying to you, okay? There's no way that a thing which is based on, the actual final insertion can be rate limited, but it should queue up. How does it actually work?
It's just doing URL submit.
And why doesn't that just work? Why doesn't that just, what does it do when it rate limits?
The server gives an error message, which is returned to the user.
Okay, so that's not going to work. So you need more careful thinking about how to deal with it queuing up. But it's not necessary for 12.2.
Right. Right.
Your solution is awful to this, but I mean,
right. It's my solution is documenting it clearly so that people are warned.
okay. But I don't think we should document it like that. So okay, so then you have to treat this as an experimental function.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Anything else to figure out with this?
No. I think it's pretty straightforward. What in the 90% use case, 99% use case.
All right. Good. I mean, yeah. So you do it, it automatically just turns into a task. Now,
Right.
How do you find out that the task has been? You have to pick up that task and query it to find out whether the data.
Right. The output is a task object, just like any other task object. You can say task status and all the other postfix things that you do on a task object.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Sounds good. All right. Well done.
All right.
Anything
So I'll
else?
take down the future and put up experimental, and we're good.
Sounds good to me. That was
Okay.
easy. Thank you
Yep.
very much.
All right.
Okay.
Have a good
See you
weekend.
later, guys. Okay. Bye-bye.